Welcome to the inaugural edition of CXO BFSI MultiCloud Summit Awards 2020. I am Kalpana Singhal, Editor-in-Chief, CXO TV, Tech Media, and your host for today's event. We all know that COVID-19 has emerged as the black swan event of the century with significant macroeconomic impact both globally and in India. The exponential spread of COVID 19 has led to a major disruption of businesses and the speed at which BFSI industry is evolving when it comes to regulation, customer behavior, and technology. It is a clear sign that the future of the financial industry will not be safe as the financial institutions restructure their framework to adapt to post crisis demands. Most of the experts opine that customer experience, multi cloud, automation, and cybersecurity will shape the sector over the next few years. The CXO BFSI Multi Cloud Summit 2020 is a knowledge and networking platform curated to deep dive into the imminent challenges and best practices in BFSI. The key focus is on enhancing the customer journey through digital innovations, multi-cloud, automation, and cybersecurity. That's not all. The event coincides with the most coveted BFSI Excellence Award, recognizing more than 60 CXOs from the sector. So, things are going to be extremely interesting. Be prepared for a highly thought-provoking and interesting day. So, without any further delay, let me invite Anuj Singhal, co-founder Tech Plus Media, to kickstart the event with his welcome note.
Good morning, good afternoon, or maybe good evening to my fast. I'm delighted and honored to welcome you all on this spacious inaugural day of CXO BFSI MultiCloud Summit and Awards 2020. Prior to COVID-19 pandemic, the BFSI industry was already evolving at a rapid pace, driven by the changing customer expectations, heightened competition from incompetent and few and new entrants, evolving regulations, and advancement in technology. Digital transformation was well underway, evident by the proliferation of digital channel tools and challenger banks. Despite these trends, the customer willingness to adopt and firm willingness to invest in digital remain inconsistent. However, in the matter of weeks, COVID-19 has upended those conventions. It has forced radical change in the customer behavior, moving significant portion of the economy online and increasing the customer comfort and willingness to engage digitally. It has also proven the case of digital transformation, as digitally matured financial institutes have displayed agility and resilience in the immediate aftermath of crisis. Conversely, for those FIs that have historically struggled to kickstart their digital transformation journey, the crisis has exposed the gap in technology, and firms have responded quickly to close those gaps. In fact, for many FIs, COVID-19 has stripped away many of the barriers that organizations face in realizing the digital promise. Besides generating organizational and leadership support, COVID-19 has swiftly removed roadblocks like risk aversion and collaboration with the external partner ecosystem, including the fintech players. Indeed, digital make life easier for customers. People are increasingly enjoying the simplicity of managing all their finance in one place, setting up automatic payment or making deposit anytime, anywhere, without the need to queue in the bank or any financial institute. A quick glance at BFSI industry in India, which consists of banks, financial institute, insurance organization, give us an understanding of the robustness of the systems and the strong digital footprint. The banking industry in India has historically been one of the most stable systems globally. Despite the global upheaval, however, with 27 public banks, 21 private banks, 49 foreign banks, 56 regional rural bank, 1562 urban cooperative bank, 94,334 rural cooperative bank. In addition to Cooperative Credit Institute, the Indian banking system offers a great scope for digitalization. In fact, most of the Indian banks are actively taking decisions to drive their digital transformation agenda, which include collaboration with fintech companies. The fact that India is among the fastest growing fintech market in the world gives us an interesting dimension to this growing partnership. In fact, India has the highest fintech adoption rate globally of 87%, which is significantly higher than the global average rate of 64%. In addition, the overall transactional value in the Indian fintech market is expected to jump approximately $65 billion in 2019 to $140 billion in 2023. Further, India is likely to contribute 2.2% of the world's digital payment market by 2023. And the value of such transaction is expected to reach 12.4 trillion globally by 2025. In addition, the financial service firms have upped their ante with technology push driven by never seen before interest of retail investors despite the COVID crisis. Over the 5-month period ending August 2020, the equity capital market reported an aggregate turnover of 1,717 lakh crores, up from 1,366 lakh crores during the same period, registered year-on-year growth of 24%. This is the largest because it's easier to invest using trading applications as well as robo-advisors that give personalized investment advices using data analytics and AI. Notably, the renewed focus on efficiency is driving further automation across the value chain. Technologies such as API, intelligent automation, cloud, RPA are playing a critical role in streamlining the middle office processes such as onboarding, KYC, AML, etc. In addition, AI and ML are proving themselves through the crisis, enabling FIs to streamline their loan processing efforts and enhance customer interaction through AI-powered visual assistants. Here are the 4 key areas that FIs need to focus on to exit the crisis and become resilient in any future crisis. The first one is re-engineering the business continuity process. Building resilience in process is crucial to ensure smooth service for customer across touchpoints, branches, ATM, call centers, digital assets, and support operation. Second point is digital transformation has gained crucial importance to embrace and involve with digital capabilities to enable contactless sales, service, and customer employee interactions. Shifting to an asset light model with the larger focus on digital platform and remote working will help FIs to reduce fixed costs without any disruption to services. And the last point is keeping employee productivity high among and midst the COVID-19 crisis will require innovative efforts beyond the usual crisis management playbook. Moreover, FIs need to look at the larger picture and channelize the effort in potential growth areas while withdrawing from cost inefficient and non-essential segments. Further, to conclude my thought, technology has not only transformed BFSI, it has also changed the perception of customers and their expectations toward this industry as a whole. The BFSI is going through a period of rapid transformation, hurled by disruption and driven by emerging digital technology. The unbelievable pace of change in technology advancement is making this possible, what was not feasible earlier. As long as BFSI sector is concerned, technology led and technology innovative will keep reinventing its capability and will always be relevant both to our partners and to our customers. In fact, the BFSI CXO Cloud Summit is our endeavor to invest that how customer experience, multi-cloud, AI, and automation will shape the sector over the next few years. We have indeed weaved dynamic agenda packed with thought leadership sessions, executive vision panel, one-on-one executive exchange, and extended network opportunity. I am of a firm opinion that you will gain knowledgeable insight and strategies to further drive your organization growth. Thank you.
Thanks, Anuj, for your deep insights and setting the agenda for today's event. Now, let me invite the first speaker of the event, Dr. Rajendran N., CEO, Indian Financial Technology and Allied Services, a wholly owned subsidiary of RBI. Dr. Rajendran is a leading expert in the field of payments and banking systems and holds a PhD in computer science. With an outstanding track record in strategizing people and technology management, cybersecurity, administration, thought leadership, and project and business execution, Dr. Rajendran has consistently excelled and succeeded in delivering at multiple technical leadership positions for over 20 years of his industry presence and experience. Please welcome him to deliver his keynote on the topic, The Future of Money, the Impact of an Increasingly Cashless Society.
Hello, everyone. I hope all of you and your family is doing well. I'm Dr. Rajendran. I'm CEO, Indian Financial Technology and Allied Services, yeah, RBI subsidiary. Today, I'm going to talk about the future of money, how the digital money is created an impact to the society and how it is going to take it forward. If we see statistics starting from the 2009 to 2019, this one decade, how this progress on the remittance is continuously increasing, and in the compared to the world total remittance happen and inflows on the respective countries, you see the low and middle income countries have continuously increasing the remittance flow and through the digital mode. And this shows that how people are shifting from the digital mode, and the numbers are increasing through the wire transactions. And if we see the last decade, and 80% is growth of this remittance in the low and middle income countries. And if you just go to our India's perspective, in 2018 alone, there is 79.5 billion USD cross-border inward has been received, and India is the top on in this the cross-border remittance inward recipient, and it also contributed around 12% of the global cross-border remittance. And you can see the other countries how it is doing well. You can see that the all other countries, you can see the how they were doing, but India has at the 79.5% on the remittance. And how it has an impact to the global. See, when you see the global perspectives, the influencing factors, and number one, that internet users, about 4.5 billion internet users, those also adopting the payment, it nearly becomes almost the equal amount of people still trying to reach the, maybe estimate source that things, the around 3.8 billion smartphone users will be there in the 2021. So this also one of the influencing factor for adopting the digital currencies. And how it is going to impact the cross borders. The cross border, if you see the payment in the last decade, and for the retail segments, it is around 63%, and growth has been increased. And the business to business perspective, we see around 1 billion transactions happen globally. And how much values for the retail payments? Retail payments triggered around $2 trillion in the payments. And if you take the digital focus, where it is happening, how it is happening, mostly the drive towards the mobile segments. And if we say 4 billion digitally, the global payment users are available. That means that every internet users are trying to become a payment user of the ecosystems. And take the cards, how it is growing, and card infrastructures, and the mobile smartphone penetrations, and the card penetrations, and acceptance infrastructures penetrations. These are an influencing factors and creating a customer confident to do the transactions. So now we take the Indian context. When you see the things, the growth rate after the 2014, 15, 16, and even 2019 and 20, it is exponential growth in terms of the digital payments happen in India. So how it is possible? And the smartphones adoptions also continuously increasing, and the convenience and experience of the end customers is getting adopted more, and also they could able to do the easy and convenience transaction at any place. And this has changed the big changes in the ecosystems. Now you take the normal the purchase or the retail segments. If you see, the consumer or the merchants also changed a lot of things in the ecosystem. In the entire pandemic period, last 6 months, if you see how this has been influenced the industries and the customers to innovate new ways to do the business. And that is possible because of this, the payments are available. And any business wanted to run, the ultimate final goal is there will be a financial transaction. That need to be done an easiest way. And the online merchants growth has been grown tremendously. And even the retail stores has converted into a way of an online business, just taking a call from the phone and executing order, and using a messaging structure like a WhatsApp or any other messaging systems, and taking an order and executing the or delivering the goods to doorstep. That has created the more opportunities to reach out the new customers, and also do the new way of business. So how it impacts? If you see, you are sitting in the any place, in India context, you take it, whether you're sitting at whether it's the Kanyakumari or in Kashmir, any location, if you see, you are not restricted to buying anything. Whatever you want it to be, whatever you like it, and you will able to just order it through them online. So that kind of convenience created a customer confident that anytime we can order it sitting anywhere, home or anywhere, and able to get whatever he wanted to get it. And the new way of doing the business has created a lot of things to the merchant establishments also. So now the merchants no need to worry about where they are located. Earlier days, the people need to find out a prime location. People have to be converging location or a big malls or so many things they need to worry about it, and doing a marketing boards in front of them, and also in many places they need to do such kind of activities. Nowadays, they also moved from the physical advertising the concept to the digital advertising. So their marketing also changed, and the office infrastructures, there no need to have a well-established infrastructure currently. By using the digital payment, that provides the people can do the establishment can be any places, and they can start doing a delivery mechanism to creating some structure how to deliver the goods to the end customer. These are the two things they need to work out, and they can able to do their business. So ultimately what they are going to do, they are going to save a lot of money on the establishment or infrastructures. So that can be converted into a discount or price reduction in the goods and everything, and that will able to make the win-win situation between the customer and the retail merchants. So this is the retail segments, and and it has changed the life of the both merchant and the customer, and this is going to be grow and continuously. That's why the statistics shows that, and this will continuously going to grow. And if you see what is the B2B business, the B2B business also becomes the very important things. By adopting the digital payments, the trust between the entities, the big buyers also is established through a common platform in the digital platform, and even the product and product identification and so many things are they could able to visualize visual method, they could able to convince to the B2B the segment, and they able to create the confidence between the segment, and also when you are doing the transactions, and no need to do an advance check kind of things, and no need to do the payment in advance. And once the goods or delivery or whatever service levels are satisfied, that time the money can be released. So this created the big revolutions in the B2B segments also. And if you see that now so many payments are available 24/7, the retail payments available 24/7. Now the real-time cross settlement systems also going to be available all the days, and this is going to create a lot of opportunities to the business entities to do the business in very efficient method. Then they can save a lot of money during the transaction or during executing the project. So that will give the more compatibility in the doing the business in India. And so many countries has been successful when they are making the payment systems an easy way so that the business are able to do the and very conveniently to the respective business. So this is the way it is getting the grown in the market. And just like to see the things, how this the cashless payments by the countries. Just take this the pictures which is given here, and from the 2014 and 2015 and 2016, then 17, 18. How you can see the things, many countries, and specifically for India and China, has the tremendous growth in the cashless payments, and roughly more than 50% in the last 4-5 years itself. And also many people started discussing about more method of distributing or adopting either digital money or the digital payments in their ecosystems. And India is the leapfrogging in many ways. And that's why now if we see that 24/7, it comes into the effect, and it is going to be then in the next week, it's going to be there. And we are everything is available and 24/7, whether it is the business to business, whether it is the retail, and the payments becomes the non-stop and available in all the days and all the times, and anytime anybody can do the transaction. So that is we are the first leapfrogging in the many ways on the digital payments. What is the motivations behind the countries to promote the cashless payments? Definitely, that's what the doing the business, one of the key factors which the influence lot of business entity to even invest from foreign country to do the business in India. And of course, the cost efficiency, which I have already told you about the things, how the retail people can save, even the business to business people also can able to save the lot of cost by planning and optimizing the entire execution of the work and the goods delivery or service delivery. They can able to save a lot of money. That benefits can go to the end consumer. It can happen. So this way it can be effectively, it can be utilized. Even the whether it is the lending business, whether it is the consumer market or the service industry, and lot of things efficiently it can be handled. That is one of the advantage the countries are continuously pushing into the cost efficiency. Then if we see financial digitization and the increase the financial inclusions in the systems. How if we see the things, even our own the direct benefit transfer, how it is created an impact into the society as well as into the country, how much money has been saved and how much people benefit also they could able to get immediately. So lot of the financial leakages has been closed, and the cost benefit this once we move it to the digital systems, and you can able to create the policies and tools for monitoring the same can be an effective one. So the countries earlier used to only on one country's currency. Now every country becomes the digital, trying to use their own currencies to the other market also. So that is also going to be currency handling in the global market. And the efficiency and the safety and robustness of these cashless societies. So with this, views, I would like to conclude going to help the society in sectors, and the feature is going to be the more adoption of the digital, and the also driving lot of business through the digital payments. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Rajendran, for an informative keynote address. May I please invite Vatul Mittal, our renowned technology and innovation specialist. Vatul is a leading industry expert in management consulting and a distinguished top 40 under 40 digital transformation leader in the space of intelligent automation, advanced analytics, and multi-cloud adoption. He has more than 14 years of strong global business transformation experience in management consulting and has delivered engagements for Fortune 500 organizations such as IBM, Barclays, Coca-Cola, Kotak Mahindra Bank, Royal Bank of Scotland, Standard Life Insurance, and Citibank. Please join me in welcoming Vatul Mittal to deliver his keynote on the topic Resetting the Model, Banks Poised to Emerge Stronger Post-COVID-19.
Hi everyone, welcome to the BFSI MultiCloud Summit 2020, which is organized by CXO TV and Tech Plus Group. Today I'll be speaking about how the banks are poised to emerge stronger post-COVID-19 and how they're setting the model back in a new and a different way post-COVID-19. And definitely we accept it as a new normal. Myself, Vatul Mittal, I have been advising various clients across banking, financial services, and insurance industry over the last 14 plus years. And I specialize myself into data analytics, cloud adoption, and intelligent automation. So I'll share my few learnings over the last couple of months that when I've interacted with multiple CXOs in the industry who are my peers, how they have been doing things right to come out better for the emerging model. So now here we see that there are multiple ways where banks are rebuilding trust and supporting the entire customer base they have. And when I look at the customer base where they are supporting, they are completely trying to overhaul how they manage this entire downturn. So there are four levers which have been identified as per the detailed analysis and studies, which are helping rebuilding trust. First is the physical level, where we develop the trust with our physical space and we ensure it is safe for all the stakeholders who operate in the physical space. Second is the financial trust, which talks about how we trust our financial concerns are being served and we manage them very well. Third is the emotional trust, where we manage how emotional and social needs are being safeguarded during this pandemic. And fourth is the foremost important digital trust, which talks about how we trust our information and we assure each one of us to all our clients that it is safe. So moving ahead, when I talk about all the different levels of trust that we see, I have been seeing that how these banks have been coming up with a better phenomena. There are 5 different ways. First is they are disbursing stimuli packages. They are helping companies get access to greater credit line so they can manage their working capital during these bad times when there is a less flow of cash. Third, they are providing counseling services to minimize negative financial effects. That is one of the most important factor in current times. And fourth is they're offering payment holidays and waiving charges. So that is something extraordinary that has happened and where banks have came out very well and shown empathy towards multiple areas of concern. And fifth is they're providing self-service tools and helplines so that can serve as a supporting need to all the customers they service. Ahead, when you talk about the different benefits of universal banking model with a more diversified set of business outcomes then we look at it, how are these businesses are playing out. So primarily there was a practice in Europe region, which was very most common, but now it has emerged out as a practice which is being adopted by different banks globally. Similarly, when I talk about different banks globally, banks in India are also tying up into multiple areas, and where they want to showcase that how they can partner with fintechs and other companies to provide such bouquet of services to their clients. And when I talk about these benefits, which emerge as one of the larger set of benefits, we see that these benefits come out with a model which is low cost, higher output, and better products. Second, it has got lower administrative cost. Third, upselling and marketing becomes much more easier in these current times. And fourth, the entire improved trust and low risk due to diversified nature of businesses is the one of the key benefits, or I'll say the outcomes, which we see when we talk about the universal banking across retail, across wholesale banking, and the investment banking, which forms the overall grid of the space we are mentioning about. So whether it's in Europe or India, there has been a change where businesses are playing out and have become much more diversified. Now, when we talk about this crisis, which is delivering a radical change to all the banking businesses and operating models, so there is a huge shift that is happening from physical to digital. Banks are trying to make banking simpler, safer, and more personalized. How? You can see on my screen, I've captured the most important factors where we see the banking becoming more digital than physical. First is the digital signatures and the video KYC, where we can have much more faster closures of branch and offices due to COVID-19, and now we have seen that there's a shift where we have moved towards the digital services where eKYC was already there. Now we have video KYC picking up by most of the banks, and we have the digital signatures. So that provides the authorization or security from the users or the customers end, where we have much more authentication. Second is face, touch, and voice IDs. So when we see today contactless payment methods and effective fraud protection has happened, because we have got different ways how we can measure and we can identify a fraud much more accurately, and we can resolve the disputes much more faster. Third is reduced demand for physical channels. Right now, we have repurposed ourselves with the real estate and needs and established smaller business hubs, which can service customers much more faster and without they're more of like a borderless regions where we can have much more faster access to response to our customer queries. Then comes the upgraded corporate banking. We can see that corporates are favoring easy and quick solutions similar to retail customers. Now the boundary has become much more thin as compared to what it used to be pre-COVID. Next, what I would like to touch upon is the customer experience. Customer experience is all about how the customer interactions were happening before, and now when we do customer interactions, which is much more self-serve or over a conversational AI bot or over a method where we have much more non-voice options. That has increased the level of serviceability to our customers. And all this is happening because when I talk about digital, that is one of the most driving forces. All of these things have happened in the industry in last recent 8 months in a much more faster manner has been due to the right use of data and analytics, where we had the opportunity to collect data and leverage it to deliver connected and more personalized experience through omni-channel scenario. Yes, so that covers one of the larger area where we talk about shift from physical to digital. Now, when we move ahead, I'd like to share that when we talk about new customer offerings to the new normal, this is one of the most important points, how we are adapting ourselves to deliver something much more newer to our customers. First is the subscription models to deliver bundled services that has came into existence. Second is advanced risk management using smart analytical capabilities. Third is highly customized and individualized experience by leveraging data. Like I reinforced in my last slide also, we have to leverage data and analytics at, at best to our abilities so we can make much more insightful decisions and can deliver a far more superior customer experience. Next is when we look at the comparison between the banking trend line and the different industries trend line, and finally the oil and gas trend line, which is the least mature industry. Why I've taken oil and gas? Because in comparison to banking, banking is the most mature industry. Oil and gas is a much lesser mature industry. Now you can see the trend over the last 3 years. We have seen different business models emerge where we have moved from the older business models to much more low cost or I'll say business models which are further moving very steeply towards the sustainable business models, which are much more newer business models. And when I talk about these newer business models, where we see banking is one of the on the highest side of the curve, we see that these all business models are emerging because when we talk about low margin operating models, where we have restructured and we have done cost optimization, then COVID-19 has definitely been an eye-opener where we have improvement in terms of different opportunities we have realized and we have captured them as a benefit to move ourselves from a old model to a more sustainable digital model. Third is the investment focus on end-to-end digitization and automation has actually gone up much higher. Banks are much more open today to deploy cloud, to embrace digitization, and the automation of processes which was happening at a business unit level has grown up at an enterprise level. So that is a much more faster trend, or I'll say adoption that has happened in last 8 months, which we could not see in last 5 years. And the key focus area is definitely how we bring zero or no latency and with zero touch points and with completely digital processes. So these are the radical changes which banking sector has adopted to drive themselves better during and post COVID-19 crisis. And the last one, when we talk about this crisis being an innovation in the sector to enable some institutions, where we talk about how the first is the value exchange. In the value exchange, we see that there is a right ideas and right time being shared with the right set of people. Second is we have diverse participants where we have right people to co-create the right thought leadership, right solutions. Third is the right landscape to collaborate through shared capabilities where partners, vendors, customers come together jointly and they bring fintech solutions which are contactless payments like facial recognition and wearables, wellness bot, psychological well-being of employees, AI-based enhancement tools that come into play, and where we move away from the legacy solutions to much more advanced solutions. And finally, we have the, because we now have employees working remotely, definitely we can't leave that important point unturned, where we have remote employees working in secure environments, maintain uninterrupted solutions. And one of the final lever of the entire innovation ecosystem framework is the rules of engagement, where we have shared risk and accelerated learning. For example, we have now contact center on cloud, where we can handle queries by voice bots and chat bots with a 24/7 availability and auto scaling. So these are the levers which we see that how the entire ecosystem has been re-established with much more infusion of innovation. And we see that how banking solutions will emerge very, very strong as we move ahead, and we have already dwelled and moved as a very progressive sector into the from the crisis towards more of innovation. And that's majorly points from my side. I am happy to have this opportunity to contribute to BFSI Multi-Cloud Summit. And thanks a lot, all of you, to be a patient listener.
Thanks, Vartul, for apprising the audience with your in-depth analysis and observations. Now, let's invite Sushil Mukherjee, DSPS Lead, Enterprise, Dell Technologies. Sushil Mukherjee is an industry professional with more than 20 years experience, having worked with some of the marquee IT companies like Digital, Sun Microsystems, and Hitachi Data Systems, and has been propagating the storage domain messaging itself for a decade now. He has been with Dell Technologies for the last 3 years and as an enterprise lead in the storage platforms and solutions team will give you a perspective on hybrid cloud, especially with regards to your data capital.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to share one of the perspectives that Dell Technologies has on the role of emerging technologies with regards to creating value in this digital world, especially in these unprecedented times. So we'll briefly touch upon a few areas, beginning with the emerging technology landscape, the tenets of hybrid cloud, our take on the workload profiles, and an introduction to an exciting new generation platform that we have recently unveiled. So getting started, as is being seen all around, technology is really changing every industry. We see traditional industries like agriculture and farming using edge devices and drones for smart farming with big data to help optimize their yields and livestock. Retail and financial services companies are moving increasingly sophisticated services online and making them mobile friendly to better understand and engage with their customers securely and from anywhere. Now, with the global economy going digital, it's critical that the organizations transform to meet this growing need. IDC alone estimates 60% of the global GDP will be digital by 2022. This means that, for the physical goods, 60% of the revenue in the value chain will be derived via these digital means. Competitive advantage, therefore, will increase by a result of the insights derived from data and the software that really drives the digital experience in a multi-cloud world. Now, let's look at the key pillars of the emerging technologies. Deployment and use of emerging technologies will be critical in the next decade. These will be powered by the edge computing and a multi-cloud strategy. On its own, each technology has the potential to spark major changes. In combination, they will redefine how the organizations build and deploy software, how they modernize and simplify their infrastructure, how they really inspire their workforce and secure their most critical assets, especially in the days of work from home. Right? Data has become the foundation of everything around us. As a result, the emerging technologies, if you look at the left-hand side from the emerging technologies, the journey of these organizations, no matter which industry or location, it's dependent upon the ability to really do the three things, which is drive new efficiencies so that the organization can become more agile and efficient, take the tsunami of the data and actually use the power of the organization, use it to really power the organizations, and generate value from that data to uncover new opportunities to either make or save money. Together, these technologies cover a company's needs from real-time market insights to data-driven business intelligence to scalable technology solutions. Let's take a brief look at the capabilities of each that it demonstrates why the digital organizations are really choosing to invest in these areas. Beginning with the edge. The edge is really the starting point. The edge will transform how the people, machines interact with the digital services by acting on data which is closer to the source. The edge has the potential to really enable entirely new experiences, enhance efficiency, and improve the control in the business. right? When it comes to IoT, by interconnecting the digital sensors and the devices in the physical world, IoT transforms the material things into streams of data, allowing people to really sense and interact with the objects in entirely new ways and accelerate the pace of the innovation which we see around us, right? The next is the next generation connectivity that we are seeing with the advent of 5G, which is expected to really enable ultra low latency response times and support the real time connectivity. 5G will really offer broadband speeds of up to 20 Gbps and the ability to really support over 1,000 more devices per meter as compared to what it could do when we had just the 4G. Right. The anticipated benefits from this include faster video downloads, near instantaneous response times to web browsing, and easy transfers of large quantities of data. Right. AI doing rapid progress, transforming the new and existing data through the analytics and machine learning. With more than about $5 billion of venture capital investment over the last 2 years, AI is really poised to have a very transformative effect on the consumer, enterprise, and the government markets all around the world, right? And this is rightly put so by PwC. Uh, the last is the cornerstone of digital leadership, which is a clear and defined multi-cloud strategy that every organization really needs to strive at. It needs to really have a roadmap which is needed, and just bear in mind that it is never a one size that fits all. So it has to be very, very unique to your own organizations, your own business models, and that's where we really unlock the new value from your data. Now, when it comes to really cloud, in terms of that cloud approach, we firmly believe at Dell Technologies that the cloud is not a destination, but more of an operating model. Also, that it is no longer a conversation of either a public or a private cloud, but more the strategic use of both the hybrid cloud, right? Therefore, it's important to really note the 3 physical laws that will impact this digital multi-cloud world of ours, beginning with the laws of physics, the laws of economics, and the laws of land. With the laws of physics, we look at the data gravity. So with the humongous volumes of data, it is a wise strategy for compute power to really gravitate towards the source of the data, which is the edge locations we just spoke about. In laws of economics, we see that the consumption economics versus capital heavy investments have really trade-offs. And depending on the usage profiles, consumption based can also become quite cost prohibitive over a period of time, right? And lastly, we are very, very conscious of the laws of the land, compliance, data sovereignty, and that add, a real new wrinkle to this cloud. As the organizations and the governments have become more data savvy, the requirements to really protect it have become that much more advanced. That means that data which could really flow freely across borders or be exposed might now, by legal decree, be that much more constrained, right? The implications of really getting it wrong can be quite severe, and as such must be a deep consideration when making decisions on where the workloads really reside, right? It is all about the landing zones of the data, which we are going to discuss a little more in detail. But the narrative that the data centers are really going away has proven to be pretty false. 92% of the respondents to ESG research's hybrid cloud tipping point analysis indicated that their cloud strategies were inclusive of having on-prem data centers. Also, what we saw, 83% of the organizations value the consistency of infrastructure from their data center right to the public clouds. And furthermore, they found that about 77% of the respondents have really pulled some workloads back on premises, popularly being referred to as cloud repatriation. Now, this isn't to say really that the public cloud is not working. It is only that the organizations are rather realizing that certain businesses and application requirements can create that dynamic where the workload is best suited probably to be on-prem at times, right? And for this reason, the organizations must really start thinking about cloud as an operating model, because when you just think about it as a place, that means that any workload not in a public cloud fails to benefit from those attributes of your all important data, right? And where really does this data emanate from, right? It's from the increasing multitude of other applications. Now, we at Dell Technologies know some of these applications very well. We are specialists in some of them, and also some that we really do not understand and that much about, right? But the problem, however, was not only the growing number of applications, the volume, the velocity, the pace at which they were coming into our businesses, but also the changing nature of data itself, right, that is involved in these applications, which is becoming increasingly disparate, diverse, and distributed. Now, our job is to be those workload specialists, right? Whilst we don't understand all the applications very well, what we really do understand incredibly well is the workload profiles and its characteristics that they generate, right? Now, what we can then create is a smaller number of application profiles, right? Or characteristics that say a smaller set of buckets, to say so, which gives us an opportunity to really consolidate some of these applications into these buckets which we consolidate. And then, let's look at this workload profile being superimposed on what we really call the grid, right, which is for the four IT operating models. On the left side of this grid, you see that we have the physical and the virtual worlds, right? On the left side, they are typically associated with enabling the IT to construct infra, and the operations are more change process driven. When we're looking on the right-hand side, we see more of an as-a-service model, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, now being more popularly referred to as container as a service, which are more cloud-like, right? Which enables you to really consume infra vis-a-vis constructing it. It enables you to really have a self-service model, fully automated with a chargeback mechanism around it. And as IT, your challenge becomes really to how do you really rebalance your workloads and resources across all these four operating models, wherein we have started realizing that there are three workload optimizations that we really need to think through when we try to do this, right? On the leftmost side, you see certain workload types like your mainframe, specialized vertical apps such as EMR. These are always going to remain physical, right, and remain on-prem. What we really want to do with these workloads is help you modernize them by increasing the efficiencies in the process, reducing the cost associated with it. Your high-end, high-demand workloads, which are usually your Oracle, SAPs, and SQLs of the world, may be really virtualized today. But to truly move to the infrastructure as a service mode, you need to add that element of automation around that, right? And finally, your emerging apps, which are designed to really launch those new services or drive the AI or IoT processes we refer to, are probably being developed in that DevOps environment where you are really trying to optimize this for the most critical business agility that we are seeking from, right? And for each of these, what you really need then is the right infrastructure solutions that can meet your business SLAs back into your businesses, right? And let me enumerate, how we really did this for a couple of customers of ours when it comes to Seagate, and look at how we have done the same thing for Santander in the IAS and and the past kind of environments. Beginning with Seagate, which is a money transfer services organization operating in around 130 countries across Latin America and Mexico. Now, because the customer really couldn't operate fast enough given their on-prem infrastructure, which was consisting of a sort of a storage zoo, with all vendors really participating from time to time, they began to really start looking at moving into AWS, right? But within less than 3 years, what they really realized was they were ending up spending $90,000 per month, growing rapidly at the rate of 50% year on year, right? Which was quite unsustainable for them to look forward to. So what the customer did is engaged with Dell Technologies SPS team and discussed the ability to really implement an on-prem cloud-like operating model with highly automated HCI technology and complete the consolidation of their environment, which would save them millions. Through a meticulous business value assessment, which is a very mature tool that we use, we measured every metric associated with the customer's business on an as-is basis. We then compared it with the solution which we proposed and showed a whopping 1,245% ROI and a $16.8 million in net benefits through our proposal around VxRail. The solution really comprised of the industry's fastest growing hyperconverged solution, which is VxRail, combined with VMware's licensing, all centrally managed through our VxRail manager interface, which is a GUI very similar to what vCenter offered, thus helping customer reduce the time to market for their business altogether, right? The second reference point is, what we did with Santander Consumer. Now, it's a car finance company, part of the Santander banking group, known quite for their respectful banking. when Santander really wanted to reduce the data center footprint and leverage the software-defined storage as a means of deriving an agile and cloud-like experience, they opted for Dell Technologies' PowerFlex solution. Now, what the PowerFlex operating system really provided Santander was with a highly scalable, flexible, and resilient platform. Now, the Flex OS was able to really reduce their database batch processing time from 7 hour 23 minutes down to 3 hour 50 minutes, and guarantee that that mission critical business intelligence is available at the start of each business day for them. Now, due to the many to many rebuild operation which is inherent in the Flex operating system architecture, an entire node of 25 terabyte was rebuilt and reprotected in just under an hour during the testing, which easily exceeded the bank's resiliency success criteria. Now, when they tried to do this on some competitive platforms, they failed quite miserably, and it took much longer time. This project obviously is therefore the first of many that Santander really embarked on and continued on that journey to have that as a infrastructure standardization on a single platform that could handle all of their block workloads which they carry, right? I hope these two examples really gave you a view into how we are using our technologies. But please remember that at the end of the day, it is how you understand the workload diversity that your specific environment really has. By using the Encompass tool, we analyzed over 250 accounts with 1 million VMs. What we really found was that, on an average, the 80-20 rule really kicked in, right? Where you had 80% of the VMs which are associated with these general purpose workloads, which are compute, CPU intensive. These are, that general purpose virtual apps that can be fully automated, software defined, and provide a massively scalable an environment that could work very nicely with VMware for a consistent operations control plane. These 80% of the VMs were using just about 50% of the storage, which is a classical fit for an HCI platform like what we provide in our VxRail platform, and we discussed that in the SIGE example. What we really then see that the remainder of the VMs, which is the 20% of it, really consume the balance 50% of the storage, right? So you notice that a very small amount of VMs are really utilizing a disproportionate amount of the infrastructure resources, right? And that is where they are trying to consume those storage intensive workloads, which are specialized, high value, mission critical virtualized apps that require a classical 3-tier architecture, and that's what is the right fitment. What we really try to do there is optimize it for the simplicity and automation as much as possible. We also, out of that scope, have the virtual environment where the physical workloads could also seamlessly tie into this. And then obviously the file and object workloads, especially emanating from your unstructured data sets, also fit into this 3-tier architecture. So finally, it is a kind of a classification into the right infrastructure architecture. That is what is most important for you to really look at. And I'll just pause here to for you to really take a nice look at this particular workload diversity slide, which really pans out from the left side to the right side and ensures that it is a conversation of and, where you're looking at an HCI as well as a 3-tier architecture. It is never an either or kind of conversation which we believe in, and hence you really need to put the right set of workloads into the right category, right? With that as a backdrop, let me tell you that how the prevalent use cases have really helped us evolve, and let me introduce to you how Dell Technologies is now redefining the storage industry with the release of the next generation platform, which is PowerStore. In the interest of time, let me do a quick 3x3 summary where the PowerStore platform is best explained by the 3 pillars that you see here: data centric, intelligent, and adaptable. Let's take a closer look at what each of these really means, right? Now, the platform is data centric. We can consolidate any particular workload from unified standpoint, whether it is block, file, or vVols. We scale up by adding the capacity, and we also scale out by adding the controllers. Now, this is designed for 6 nines of availability. with the active end-to-end NVMe controllers, next-gen media of solid-state drives and storage class memory, this platform is very much capable of addressing performance asks emanating not only from your traditional workloads, but also those new age application environments, right? Even compared to our own previous generation Unity XT platform, this is 7 times faster with about 3 times lesser latency, right? We deliver all of this with the most cost effective, most efficient, effective capacity envelope due to the latest quick assist technology, which is built in onto the controllers. You really do not need to worry about the impact that it will have on your production IOs, and yet do an inline data reduction with intelligent dedupe and compression, thereby delivering a 4:1 data reduction guarantee on this particular platform. When you look at the second pillar, which is where we look at the intelligence element which PowerStore has, why do we say so? It's programmable, which is API enabled. We can automate the storage provisioning processes, whether to integrate your VMware capabilities like VRO, VRA, to address those Ansible playbooks, or really creating those container-based integrations for your Kubernetes deployments, right? This allows us to deploy the system with far fewer manual steps, less risk, and thus deploy the resources in seconds, which really used to take days in time, in the past, right? It's also pretty autonomous. That allows the discovery of new appliances automatically to a cluster via the machine learning algorithm, which is inbuilt. Again, it ensures that the maximum utilization that takes 99% less time administrating the PowerStore. Now, with native integration into our Cloud IQ tool, we can then do proactive health analytics to help reduce and plan risks, and then plan ahead, right? The inbuilt health scores, accessible even on your smartphone devices as an app, provides a very comprehensive system snapshot on operational status, available storage, and gives those performance alerts which are very critical. You would then have a very actionable analysis and planning data at your fingertips all the time, and all coming to a single pane of glass. This then allows you to really spot issues 16x faster than platforms that would really not have this capability to begin with. And lastly, this platform is very, very adaptable, right? We ensure that the data migrations to get this to this platform are that much more automated, simple, and seamless. We package it with the flexible consumption models like Dell Tech on Demand or pay-per-use with our Flex on Demand offering in conjunction with our Dell Financial Services. Please discuss this with the teams whenever you are embarking on a new project. We looking at the backend of how we are really backing this with the industry's most complete future-proof program, and we also ensure that you can then seamlessly keep modernizing this infrastructure without a forklift upgrade going into the future at all, right? But what I'm most excited about this technology is its flexible architecture, right, with a unique flexible deployment methodology. Now, the beauty of the PowerStore operating system is that this being an absolute grounds-up container-built technology, it introduces a very unique concept of an apps on hypervisor deployment methodology that allows the ESXi to be run directly on the storage controllers, thus making it very ideal for those data-intensive demanding workloads. Very similar to what you can do for an HCI environment, but specifically for your data-intensive workloads. So what we do here is just to take you to, again, back to the edge conversation. We begin at the edge locations, right? You can start thinking about those regional medical centers, remote manufacturing plants and facilities. Now you can innovatively run analytics locally on the different types of data like RFID tracking, medical telemetry, metadata collation from oil and gas rigs, and so on and so forth, and yet end up saving about 70% of your rack space, right? Now, it doesn't stop there, because what we could then extend this is go into the core data center by doing a native data replication from the edge to the core. And once inside the data center, we could now move those data sets for further massaging of the data to environments that need more scalable compute, like your VxRail HCI platforms, or you could also use your existing ESXi farms in conjunction with your storage deployments, which you would have, or deploy additional sets of storage, right? And then start looking at how you leverage technologies like VMware Cloud Foundation in creating those workload domains, adding those landing zones, thereby giving customers a full automation workflow and allowing them to pick and choose where their application needs to live for the time they need to, and all in a very, very absolutely non-disruptive manner. And because we have the ESXi already integrated into your application landscape via the apps on facility, which I discussed about, you're looking at how you can then transition this entire thing to a public cloud of your choice. So in the true sense, really achieve what you want to do from an edge to a core to a completely multi-cloud journey in a very, very seamless manner, right? So I'm just trying to tie back this particular new technology innovation to the conversation of how we are looking at a multi-cloud journey for your entire data sets going across this in a very, very seamless manner. This then, is the real benefit of this particular platform, which is truly a next generation storage platform, very, very futuristic looking. Our friends in the industry are really trying to catch up with many of these elements. I would strongly urge that you please have your teams align with our teams to have that 1 hour critical conversation with our customer solution center, where we could really do a demo to take you through this in a little more detail. With that, let me end this session, and thank you very much for giving this opportunity. Thank you again.
Thanks, Sushim, for your interesting session. It's time for the CXO Spotlight session, where leading CXOs speak about their digital transformation success story. Let's welcome Rahul Chopra, CDO Clicks Capital, to talk about his inspiring experiences. Rahul is a renowned technology leader with over 17 years of professional experience. He comes with more than 10 years of experience in life insurance industry and more than 3 years of experience in healthcare industry. He has rich experience in leading strategic IT planning and implementation, digital strategy and transformation, BI and analytics, enterprise applications and support, infrastructure and services, planning and budgeting, and strategic business consulting.
Hello everyone. Today I would share how to be architect of innovation. As you all know, that business organizations are facing enormous challenges to respond to the rapid technological changes and growing demands of consumers for digital products and services. There is a constant search to find solutions to the growing business problems. From my experience, the most optimal solution to address these problems is to architect enterprise digital transformation requirements and objectives. Architecting digital transformation can be addressed the root causes of fundamental issues that we experience in the digital world. Based on my architectural experience on various enterprise architecture initiatives, digital transformations, and enterprise modernization engagements, I want to share these learnings using 5 simple step method approach and hoping to add value. Step 1. Establish fundamentals. Step 2. Simplify complexities. Step 3. Manage costs. Step 4. Innovate and invent. Step 5. Leverage emerging technologies and tools. Step 1. Establish fundamentals. So what are the fundamentals? Fundamentals are vision, strategy, requirements, use cases, and most importantly, defining current state to future state. Vision. In architectural thinking, any new initiatives start with a vision. A vision is being able to think about future with creative imagination and human wisdom based on desired goals. Vision sets the scene and shows us where we want to be in future. Strategy. Once we have a compelling vision for the digital world, it is time to set strategy clearly. We know where are we now on the digital journey and strive for where we want to go. Our destination needs to be marked. Our digital strategy helps us reach our destination using a master plan. A master plan can be a high-level roadmap to take us to the destination we set. Requirements. Digital transformation initiatives can pose many requirements from many angles. Most of the time, requirements can be seen as a simple from outside. However, they are not that easy to manage inside. Therefore, we need to make a concerted effort to understand the requirement from all angles in a structured way. Requirements involve multiple process and stakeholders. These stakeholders can be from different parts of organization with varying goals, roles, responsibility. We need to identify them. Use cases. Related to requirement, understanding the use cases for digital transformation solutions are essential architectural thinking skills. Dealing with use cases require different level of thinking, such as looking at things from user perspective. Observing and being an observer at the same time is a critical mental capability. More specifically, a use case is a specific situation depicting the use of product or service of a solution by consumer. Moving from current state to future state. After understanding the requirement and classifying the use cases of solution, we need to apply them to the current state. The current state shows us where we are now. By understanding the current state and its requirement to transform, we set the future state and develop the roadmap to reach to that state. The future state requires substantial amount of analysis and prediction. In this phase, we can consult multiple subject matter experts to ensure that the future state reflects our vision, mission, and solution strategy and ensure that we meet identified requirements. Step 2. Simplifying complexity. We know that enterprise environment can be extremely complex with multiple layers of systems, subsystems, technology stacks, tools, processes, coupled with numerous stakeholders with different agendas and consumer with different expectations. Even though system tools, processes, technology stacks can be challenging, the more significant part of iceberg, the real challenge, is dealing with people in enterprise, specifically multiple stakeholders with different roles and responsibility, and above all, confusing agendas. Therefore, we must consider multiple aspects to simplify complexities, such as processes, tools, technology stacks, designs, specifications, data, governance, integration, and communication. Step 3. Manage cost. Even if we create a paragon of architecture with flawless design, if the solution is economically not viable, it doesn't produce a compelling return on investment, it cannot be considered as successful. Therefore, the financial focus for any digital transformation is mandatory and must be a priority objective. While architecting digital transformation initiative, we need to consider several costs such as infrastructural cost, application and software cost, tools cost, design and specification cost, project management cost, data management cost, mobility cost, governance cost, and above all, the marketing and sales cost. Step 4. Innovate and invent. Digital transformation initiative predominantly based on innovative and inventive ideas. Innovative and inventive thinking generates novel ideas. Focus on improving ideas and strive for making continuous iterative progress. Innovative and inventive thinking can use agile delivery principles to reach to their goals. We know that predicting the future is very hard. Therefore, creating an upfront paragon of architecture is not practical. So, as transformation architects, we must take a pragmatic approach to the architecture and very importantly, focus on minimum viable product. Step 5. Leverage emerging technologies and tools. The key technology enabler of enterprise modernization and digital transformation goals are cloud computing, mobile technologies, IoT, big data, and AI-based or cognitive data analytics. An integrated view of these technologies and associated process, along with the tools, are critical to our success, to our digital endeavors. Nowadays, most widely used technology in transforming enterprise is cloud computing. Cloud becoming mainstream in many organizations. Adoption of cloud become very rapid. We can use cloud as a foundational enterprise modernization and digital transformation tool. I hope that this information on being successful architects of innovation will help you draw and achieve the success in your digital transformation agendas. I wish you all the best.
Thanks, Rahul, for a really inspiring session. We look forward for more such inspiring stories. Now it's time for an interesting panel discussion on the topic, multi-cloud becomes the new norm for banking. The panel will discuss the points including BFSI and fintech priorities while dealing with disruption, how multi-cloud is helping bankers achieve digital targets, key steps in multi-cloud adoption, deterrence by the initial price of multi-cloud platform, and multi-cloud strategy for successful rollout. We have lined up a set of eminent panelists to take this discussion forward and offer us few constructive thoughts and workable ideas. Please welcome Deepu KV, CIO Bajaj Allianz General Insurance, Ashton D. Cruz, Director, CEO, CGO, CISO, and Head CC&S Governance, NatWest Markets PLC India, Bhavish Pandey, CISO Hero FinCorp, and Muralidhar Pai, Executive Director, Maverick Systems. The panel will be moderated by Feroz Khan, Partner and Head Digital Advisory, KPMG. Over to you, Feroz.
Hi everyone, welcome to panel discussion. In fact, I was going through the topic of the discussion today, and the topic is very interesting. It talks about the multi-cloud. Although cloud is a very loosely used word, and everyone would hear about this word as a topic. And then sector talks about financial services. So what exactly is the new norm? Financial service. It's a very interesting, subject. And with me, we have a stellar panel member today who all are stalwarts in the area. And let's hear from them only. But before let me first of all introduce all of my panel members. So we have Mr. Muralidhar Pai, who is an Executive Director of Maverick System. We have the KV Deepu, who is the CIO of Bajaj Allianz General Insurance. Then we have Bhavish Pandey, who is the CISO of Hero FinCorp. We have Ashton D. Cruz, who is Director and CISO of NatWest Markets PLC. All of the stalwarts have, I'm sure they would have done multiple things in terms of the cloud journey and in terms of multi-cloud when we talk about. So we'll hear that what is this multi-cloud definition or multi-cloud journey for the financial services, primarily the banking and the NBFC. Before context, one thing I just want to tell my audience that when we talk about multi-cloud, generally what happens is this. People do confuse or mix this with the hybrid cloud. And to me, it looks like it's, both has a different meaning, both has a different purpose. And, the purpose is this: when we talk about really multi-cloud, we have to see from a parlance of the public cloud that how many vendors, multiple architecture are we using, which really plays an edge for the banking industry. As we all will have witnessed that banking as a service using cloud these days. Yes, there are regulations. Yes, there are governance issues. Yes, there are statutory, but still penetration. At least the NBFC part of it or the insurance part of it, there's a very high penetration which we have seen. Two things we have to understand from a point of view. Like when we really talk about the multi journey, we have to make sure that what is the real choice which we are making to adopt to the multi-cloud, because there can be one service provider, there can be other service provider, but really want to go ahead with this, what's the choosing criteria, or what's the flexibility criteria which we really adhere to this. And then we even have to factor in very important point, which is primarily the compliance. That compliance becomes a real issue in this sense, because as such, when we talk about the banking, or as such when we talk about the financial services, compliance is something which is viewed from in a very different way. And this is something in security. But when we talk about cybersec, when we talk about risk, you talk about governance, all of these things plays into this. So why don't we do one thing? Let's open this discussion to the panel members, and let's hear from them, because we have the stellar panel members today who specialize into these topics. And then, since I'm talking about you come from NatWest, and this is one of the major retail and the commercial bank. Want to hear from you that what are the real challenges which you feel in terms of adhering to the the regulatory compliance or security, for that matter, even the governance for adopting multi-cloud journey, because this in terms of the industry balance. So would like to hear from you as an expert that what's your view in this.
So thanks, Feroz, and a very good day to all my co-panelists. Thanks also to CXO TV and Tech Plus Media for having me over on this session. So as you said, Feroz, this topic is very interesting and very relevant in today's day and age, given the pandemic and how it has disrupted normal life. So cloud was always the future. The pandemic per se has just expedited it, and it's expedited it almost tenfold is what I would say. So if you look at any survey that has been put out on cloud adoption, except in the recent past, I'm sure that no survey would have, no one quotes at least 40% of IT budgets and beyond are towards cloud or migrations and adoption to cloud now. The remaining 60% is taken up by all sort of other requirements of the organization, but a good 40% of it is dedicated towards a cloud setup. Coming to your actual question, and before I actually give my answer, I must here that the views and opinions that I express here would ideally be in my individual capacity and could or could not be subscribed to the organization that I represent. Since you mentioned NatWest, yes, as NatWest, as the group, we are a major retail and commercial / corporate bank globally. In India, we just set up currently as a corporate bank. But irrespective of the branch in the country or at the group level, for us, the cloud migration is something that has to happen. There's no two ways about it. And we have actually begun the journey and are well through in it. But at the same time, we also have to take care of the various regulatory and security compliance, and also maintain a good overall governance around the entire posture. Having said that, compliance to regulatory and security needs changes in terms of geographies, in terms of locations, and is always moving given the constant change in technology and regulatory requirements as such. So it is not one fixed subject or one fixed destination or one fixed target that someone has to achieve. It is always a moving target that you are constantly trying to benchmark yourself against and ensuring that you are compliant against. And given this requirement, how do we see ourselves? How do we best suit ourselves to this requirement? Is primarily through modernizing of enterprise compliance. What do I mean with that in terms of modernizing and our enterprise compliance is basically to be able to have complete visibility across our cloud borders. Okay, and I speak from it per se for as a global and an MNC organizations with our footprints in various locations, 53 at the last count that we had. So because of that, we have to basically look and monitor and have complete visibility of the cloud borders in terms of what's running where and who's accessing it in what terms. So who's allowed, who's authorized, what are the types of access levels we have, and what is stored at what location. And this caters to a lot of requirements. More recently, it's the PDPA, which is going to be soon becoming a law in the country. It's also a regulatory requirement from a banking perspective, where the regulator says that all our data needs to be stored locally, nothing can be taken out of the country, and such sort of requirements and regulatory compliances that we need to adhere to. So that's the real thing that we need to see. It's more of a real-time recommendation in terms of our cloud sizing, the resource requirements, and constant monitoring for any security needs. Secondly, that we would have is basically policy-based automated remediation requirements. So this is to cater to security setups, etc., going into real third gen, fourth gen technology, adoption of AI, ML requirements to be able to monitor and adhere to cloud security at an enterprise level. And finally, but not the least, to know exactly what is the data and what you have on the cloud. So cloud in today's world is not just about where you do the computing, but also how do you do the computing. So it is not just the infrastructure as it was first showcased as, it is also developed into how do you do computing. And these are the three parameters across which I would actually look at it from both a governance perspective as well as compliance to regulatory and security requirements.
Very well said, Ashton. In fact, you pointed out 2-3 things which was very important. In fact, you pointed out that how is it this pandemic has given a opportunity for this the cloud as a movement or multi-cloud as a movement, and then you did mention about the modernization issue, which sorts of creates or gives an opportunity to store data in the cloud. But then you did mention and highlighted the risk and the security associated to it. Now, let me go to Bhavesh. Bhavesh, you heard Ashton. You heard him. He spoke about the risk, the security factors. You heard him. He spoke about the pandemic giving this opportunity. And his point of view is more from the banking side of it. Now, I want to flip this side and want to hear from the non-banking NBFC side. And I know that you are one of the stalwart into this. So what's your view, Bhavesh? Like, if I have to ask you, is it that this pandemic has really forced the organization, be it big, small, or medium, whatever it is there, to move their workloads to their own data center as a public cloud? Because we are talking about multi-cloud, and primarily we are talking about different public cloud, getting converged at one place. Is that become really risky, or is there a security issue? What's your view, as a practitioner?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me here. So when we say that cloud and in this pandemic, whether this pandemic forced us to move on the cloud, or it's not like that. In fact, cloud journey started a couple of years back only. We have multiple cloud, we have multiple cloud service provider, we engaged for different kind of service. But yes, this pandemic has given some push for to speed up this cloud this journey, cloud journey, to complete as soon as possible. Because I will give you a little background. Look, the way digitizations are happening in the organization, without taking help or without going on cloud, it's not possible to achieve that digitization in a certain time frame. And earlier, couple of years back, when even regulators has some concern to go on cloud, but the way regulators shift their regulation to adopt cloud for even banking and non-banking, or in fact overall in BFSI sector, now it's a welcome step by this regulator, and every organization are adopting. Same way with in non-banking finance company, like we are lenders, and we have very tough competition to in the market. I will give you a few examples. Like in our festival season, from Dasara to Deepavali, we have festival season. So we have to disperse our loan in 1 minute. So you just understand the digitization we have to complete to achieve this target. Because in 1 minute, when customer, you have to onboard your customer, you have to check with multiple bureaus, and then you have to say to your customer, okay, we are giving you that loan, so you can take bike in next 2-3 minutes, go out and celebrate at your home. So that kind of digital transformation is required clouds support. Now comes on security point of view. So it's not like a couple of years back, you can say even 5 years back or 4 years back, even management has thought process, once you moved on cloud, you are totally secure. It's not like that. Still, we have to do a lot of things in security when we are moving to the cloud. So it's again a shared thing. Most of the thing still organization has to do while going on that cloud. And certain area that cloud service provider will give you in a security shape. Most of the things like access, hardening of your cloud rules, you have to do at your own. One thing I would like to give you still this cloud journey in the industry. I think a maximum 30-35% organizations workload is on cloud. And when we say like how we design this, like to move on the cloud. So whenever any new business proposal comes in, a new project comes, we give a think on at least for 5-year journey. So because as of now we have a hybrid approach, we have still main business application are in-house. New stuff, whatever are coming, we are moving on cloud. So still it's a hybrid approach. So whenever any projects comes, we give a deep thought on that as at least a 5-year plan. Whatever suitable for us, we take call. And as I started with that compliance, because regulators are now allowing us to move on the cloud, complying the all requirement related to that RBI as well as NHB guidelines, because in Hero FinCorp, we have one housing company also. It's very much important. We always analyze the risk on moving on cloud. And after that assessment of this, we decide to, and we take call whether we have to move on cloud or not. But yes, this pandemic forced us to speed up our digitization journey.
So, 2, 3 again, very important points, which I was just listening carefully. Like, you did mention about the digital transformation as its importance, and then club that to the security, which is of paramount importance. But then what I heard from you is this: the crux, what you are highlighting is this: agility and speed matters a lot for this. And then
Exactly.
when we talk about agility and speed, exactly what we are doing is this: we want to bring different innovation in the form of transformation, but then at the same time, the expectation is this: we want that to be in a speedy manner. It has to be agile, and that's how this will really give a. So you took an example of lending journey or a mortgage journey, and I can correlate that the analogy of the lending, what you are talking about. You gave an example of that Dussehra and Diwali. How do we really speed up the requirements or innovate something in a very disruptive market? And I very much agree with you. So now let me go to you heard, Bhavesh, you heard that although security is of paramount importance, but then if we want to do an innovation and disruption, that is something which has to be thought through well. No, you are one of a industry leader who has spent enough time into this, in this industry. You understand this topic well, you understand the industry well. Now, let me ask you one thing, that what are your priorities when we talk about the innovation and disruption? So, how are you prioritizing your innovation and disruption, and how that deployment can be taken to either a multi-cloud or, for that matter, a hybrid cloud, specifically for the BFSI vertical? So what's your view? Can you share your perspective on this?
Yeah. Thanks, Feroz. You have actually asked me 2 questions in 1 question. So let me take them, one by one. The first is, from an innovation and a disruption perspective, one thing which COVID-19 has done, Feroz, is it's basically made, customers very wary of touch. So from a UI and UX perspective, we are essentially focusing on a touchless experience. Just to share 2 instances. Today, when customers walk into our branches, since we cannot shake hands with them, since we cannot encourage paperwork, what we essentially do is, we have installed barcodes. So customers basically scan these codes and they get their request fulfilled. So scan the QR code and get a request for your insurance policy fulfilled. The policy registered to your email ID. That's one. The other is we were pioneers in terms of integrating our AI-driven chatbot with voice, as in Alexa and Google Assistant, when they were launched in India. Which means you can basically aware of services using voice. You could say, hey Alexa, while you're using Alexa for maybe, let's say, playing music, you could ask Alexa, hey Alexa, can I get a copy of my policy from Bajaj Allianz General Insurance? And then the policy will be emailed to your registered email ID. Similarly, you could ask for the nearest hospital or the nearest workshop, so on and so forth. So I think that's clearly, one area which, where we are focusing on, which is, touchless UI UX. The other is health insurance, is an important part of our portfolio. And, insurance being an essential service, when people have to basically undergo hospitalization, whether there is a lockdown or whether there is no lockdown. I mean, that's one thing which is lockdown proof. So I think we invested a lot in terms of, telemedical underwriting, by which, we could digitally, continue to service customers. And in fact, we did not just survive the crisis, we actually thrived through it. In fact, our customer feedback, either from the point of view of 90% dip in our grievances or the highest NPS that we enjoy, bears testimony to this fact. Thirdly, what has also happened, Feroz, is as contact centers, went into shutdown mode, we were able to seamlessly migrate our customers, to all our digital assets. I spoke about the AI-driven chatbot. We also have WhatsApp as an important channel, and we also have customer portal. We have a mobile app. So we figured out key drivers of traffic into our call center, and we built seamless, frictionless customer journeys on our digital assets. So even today, 80% of our servicing happens via these digital assets. So I think these are, few clear winners, from an innovation perspective. Coming to your second question, around how the, hybrid cloud can help, the BFSI vertical. There are 4 dimensions to it. I think one is, the whole BFSI sector, has seen a dramatic increase, in shift from offline to online. And as somebody said, there are times when weeks happen in decades, and there are times when, decades happen in weeks. And here, the entire cloud computing component, has played a vital strategy. It's basically helped drive growth, but also helping players, reduce cost and improve flexibility as well as, client relationships. The second dimension is we all spoke about agility. Today, black swan events are not so infrequent, and therefore there's a huge pressure on the firms, to respond rapidly. And the whole idea of adaptability and changing direction quickly, that's a core principle of a digital business. And therefore, when we combine, public clouds, private clouds, on-prem resources, we gain agility, which can at times become a competitive advantage. The third thing is, by building on a hybrid cloud, we can rapidly deploy key resources across the business, right? And then we can provide solutions faster to business problems. At the end of the day, either it's a new idea which is waiting to be executed, or there is a problem, which needs to be solved. And as everybody knows, right, you can reduce the time spent and the resources to solve problems while enhancing agility in our response to evolving customer needs, regulatory landscape, as well as, the competitive scenario. And the fourth dimension is that this is increasingly becoming the new normal, right? And in order to ensure business continuity, right? Today we have seen COVID-19. You never know, what new black swan event might be around the corner. We can leverage this hybrid cloud services, to derive business directly, from new technologies as they emerge. And as these, crises take us into the new normal, we're also facing disruption, right? For example, there are a lot of, cloud native companies, right? So the whole idea is, how do we all compete while we cooperate to ensure that we are giving access to millions of people? So that's broadly what I wanted to share on these 2 aspects.
Very valid point, Deepu. Like, in order to compete, you did spoke about that. How do you compete in terms of giving access and data? End of the day, it's all boiling to data, because when you give an example of Alexa, and when you spoke about the AI and the chatbots and all those stuffs, it talks about the tons and tons of data which you would be capturing, and obviously when we talk about the hybrid cloud or a multi-cloud, eventually we are even in some way correlating that to the data, because there are millions and zillions of petabytes of data which is going to come up, and then managing that. And thus my next question is with Muli. Mulinder, since you come from a data background and you heard Deepu, he gave few analogies which is linked somewhere to data. And since you come from this background, my thinking is this: when we talk about any digital transformation, data is sort of an epicenter to that. And when we talk about any cloud landscape, we talk about, obviously we have to think that how do we take the workloads and the data, obviously the secure data to that. Want to understand from you, what kind of benefits to organization will really get or look for in terms of moving to the cloud, specifically for the quantum of data which Deepu is talking about? So your views, Mr. Muralidhar.
Thanks, Firoz. Thanks, Deepu and others for sharing the business views. So I'll also try to answer that in a two-part manner. One is from where is the need which is coming from. I'll try to answer it from the tech side of things. Whatever Deepu talked about or Bhavesh talked about in terms of two separately different business cases. One is how to support a large deluge of customer queries which are coming in, and you are handicapped by not having the branch network to help. Or when you're talking about a festive season, huge sudden surge in demand, right? So these are two places where you will suddenly see you cannot meet those demands by going the traditional way of you have in data center, you will get a rack and then you will get 10, 15 machines. So that's the primary premise, primary premise in which along with that, as Bhavesh talked about, maybe the journey started much early. In his organization, maybe 2 years, but it was much more cooking for a while. Because I think there was an interesting article, I think it was in 2012, when economists covered saying that there's a data deluge. And one statistics which stayed with me, that is in that particular year, 2012, I think the world created more data than the entire time all the way up to 2011. Including 2011, yeah. So that is the amount of data which is available, right? And they cannot be processed in bespoke method as we used to do. I'm not saying that CIOs were not doing the work, but that's what they had to work within their constraint. And the data deluge also meant that you have to think out of the box. You cannot continue to buy hardware while they are also growing at that particular point of time. So you needed a flexible, scalable, on-demand, and economical access, which can take care of two things: the explosion of data which is coming in, and also having appropriate tools. This brought in another one, which is, okay, you have all these compute devices, or you have the storage, you have the compute, you have the ability to move data between appliances or between applications. Now what? You also needed algorithms to go with it, and you don't look at cloud alone. You look at the open source development in terms of AI and ML, which was able to consume the data which is coming in, and there were applications which were available. Right? When you look at it from that point of view, whether you are attempting digitization or customers moving to digital, or generally addressing a growth in business, or simple things like, for example, now when you're buying anything electronically, you are swiping the card. If you are using the card swipe, it is at least 20 times more. Right? Each of the transactions you are doing, a Paytm or any of those things. So each of them is creating that much of data. It doesn't matter how much you are transacting. It is the number of transactions which is creating. So it is all of them are NX, kind of a multiple. And that is where your need for a flexible, elastic platform which is needed. Right? So that explains why cloud is needed. And in terms of data specifically, what has happened is a lot of things are available on the cloud in terms of, somebody was talking about hybrid, one is hybrid, and also there is another term which is slowly coming up along with multi-cloud is intercloud. That is, some components are available on one cloud provider and something else is sitting on another cloud provider. Variety of reasons, right? But one of the things which is from data specifically, when you are looking at the algorithms which I talked about, they are available in a SaaS mode, whether it is risk profiling, or whether it is to lend or not to lend decision, or doing KYC, looking at AML checks. All of them are available as SaaS, and most of them are available on the cloud. So you might keep your transaction data in your on-premise. That's what Deep was also talking about. I think you're keeping it in on-premise, but then you are moving the data elsewhere to have that compute and that ability. So that is one place you will see. Second is there are a plethora of tools which are available, which brings in the aspect of platforms itself is available as a service on the cloud, which could include some of the compute things which is available, which though non-cloud versions or variants or hosted variants, IBM was trying with Deep Blue, But now multiple of those kind of things are available where you can go and model your problem, which gives you agility, which gives you scale, and which gives you economical. You need not invest in getting that entire capacity. So in a nutshell, digitization is nothing but data, and data is exploding. And there are big, beautiful business models which are available. You can go with as much the customer wants, or as little or as much as the customer wants. You can deduce the demand from customers' action, not only from your side. And I will put in as the base driver for whether it's cloud, whether it's digitization, is the data deluge. Just to leave our users, our viewers with a impression saying that, maybe before 2012, maybe, or 2010, maybe a customer data with each of our banks and NBFCs would have been less than an MB. Right? It is only the transaction and whatever was digitized, which is name, address, maybe their transactions, the products they have subscribed to. Now everything is digitized, including the call records and even WhatsApp or any way in which they are interacting. Some of them are even going in and looking at Twitters or various handles and those kind of things. There are legal limitations, but entire thing can give you a competitive edge. You need cloud to be nimble enough and fast enough to address this exponential increase in data and compete with new age companies. So it is not a question whether you need cloud or what are the benefits. It is how and how fast. Yeah.
So, Mr. Muralidhar, since you spoke about this, the data in terms of traditional and the new age, and you did mention about the platform and the SaaS also. So, I'm curious to ask another question from you. Then, since you are talking about the SaaS, you are talking about the platform, and you are in fact talking about the traditional data, which I agree truly that yes, this is going to be a game changer. So, would like to hear from you only, that how will then this cloud service like the SaaS which you are talking about, or the PaaS which you are talking about, will really replace the different traditional components and will eventually lead to cloud migration? Because I know there's a change management angle to it, but then it's more than change management. And would like to hear from you that you talk about these platforms, this service model, how will that rip and replace the traditional model in this case?
I'll give you some examples without divulging the details. I cannot. So
yeah.
So coming into two large banks, one is a large global bank based out of US whom we work with, and another is a bank which is there in 40 countries, and both are renewing what you are asking, the traditional data architectures using Teradata. There is a data warehouse. It will crunch data at the end of the day, a report in the mailbox of the manager at the end of the day. That is changing. Competition is changing that, and one thing which we didn't talk about is there are new age niche providers from fintechs, as we call them, or there's another word, tech fin. They are coming and taking away a lot of your lucrative businesses. So you have to bury the batch. You cannot think I will do end of day. It is okay for your wealth manager to call on the customer once in a month and explain to her or him that how the portfolio did and how your advice has helped them to be wealthy. They want it on the mobile. They want it immediately as and when things are happening. They suddenly realize that it is the pandemic has changed the investment rules all by itself overnight. So for that to do, you cannot, the traditional model of you get batch mode from one system to another. That is, you assume that data is moving from one bottle to another, poured over using a funnel. Instead of that, you need to start modeling interoperability between applications as electric connections, right? Instantaneous, whatever is happening in one transaction system, you want it analyzed and put it in some place where somebody can consume. So what people are doing is, one, they are preparing themselves. It is not cloud centric at this moment in banks, but they're preparing themselves. So you are moving from each of the batch, things are taken away, whichever was the old tools. So data warehouse is moved. The ETL is getting replaced by data pipelines using open source or some versions of Spark or any of those things, right? And you also have realized things like you have created your internal models for simple things like segmentation and those kind of things, right? Which how will I segment a customer? That also is slowly moving away to SaaS. you are using, there are tested models, there are fintechs who are collaboratively working with banks to develop these models, and it is becoming a commodity, which is available in pay as you use and that kind of a model. So your risk of getting the model wrong is taken away. While only things which banks are interested in is they are focusing on ensuring that this happens in a very smooth manner, right? So all the intellect which is non-critical is going to SaaS. And for whatever, you might think that I have a very specific proprietary investment model or customer evaluation model. For that, you're using building blocks, which is either available as PaaS on the cloud, off the cloud. To give an example would be, there are tools which are available, visual tools, which will use some of this ML deep learning kind of tools, but they're visual tools. A business analyst can put it on top. And those tools are available as PaaS. So you are getting a system integrator to build this thing together, and then your people are developing. And then it is not, again, it was not a 2-year program by which I will release new lending models, right? The models are incremental, they are agile, they're, you are doing A/B and those kind of testing. So that is where PaaS comes in. And another thing which also happens is pandemic required in between. There was a huge demand for data services because central banks wanted to, mark to market more often. And then you don't have build capacity for that. Overnight you have to deliver those kind of reports, and this will again come into another set of things which will come in terms of only compute or only process. So that goes into your typical infrastructure as a service, storage as a service, data as a service, where maybe your data continues to be in hybrid mode in your data centers, but to compute, to calculate a value at risk, or at volumes, or in mortgages you are looking at how much do they owe, or what is a loan to value has changed because pandemic has changed the underlying or any of those things. Those are then sent to the compute and brought back. So these things are already starting to happen. Will everything move to the cloud? I think it is a question of time. Because another thing which is less talked about, less looked upon is while the infrastructure as a technology itself, I jokingly say that my phone is much more powerful than a server I racked 4 years ago, right? Both in terms of RAM, both in terms of gigahertz of cycle time, and even storage. And this is all SSD, right? This can process more than what was looking like almost like an AC unit, which required 4 people to lift and rack it. This is getting replaced. We haven't upgraded, the CIOs haven't upgraded their people to the same extent. Some of the things which were used to take, saying that, okay, earlier before virtualization day, that installation and getting the server ready was a couple of week process. Now all you need is go to the UI, just click, and your server is ready. And you want to pump in. So those kind of changes is extremely critical. We don't look at those. That also helps in terms of moving things faster.
I think specifically, if I talk about bank or NBFC or insurance, yes, this is one of the very important and critical factor. And you gave an example of fintech, which is a right example. The way see too fast, the way they innovate. I mean, it's getting this fintech. So Ashton, very interesting. I mean, this is moving very interesting. New are getting unearthed, and again from the bank point of view, hear from you that when we talk about this speed and agility, when we talk about digitalization, we're talking about how do we really ensure that agility with application modernization. It has clarity, flexibility. So all of this, is it that we achieved cloud deployment, be it multi, because you only that said this thing that not everything can move. Yes, things can move, but not everything, which even I also agree. So would like to hear inside. What's your view on this?
Okay, thanks, Feroz. So since I last spoke, actually, Deepu, Mullidhar, Bhavesh have shared a lot of inputs and a lot of insights into the multi-cloud setup, specifically from a BFS sector. And I pretty much agree with all of what has been shared. The counter argument here will always be, but what's so different about a cloud rather than having an on-prem, on-site, 5th-gen data center, which will give me the same things? So that could be the counter argument, and then that's where I come in. So one of the main benefits of cloud per se is the agility, the ability to basically have on-demand self-services and rapid elasticity. Again, something that an on-site on-prem data center may not be able to. You basically have scalability, which is at the flick of a switch or a click of your fingers. And that is something that cloud provides you with, and cloud computing provides you with. One, having said that, this has, and cloud in the per se has got a set of different requirements. Multi-cloud is the subject and the theme that we are discussing, which is basically pans across multiple providers. We also have an hybrid cloud approach, which basically could be a combination of a public versus a private setup. And as Mulidhar had briefly touched upon, we have an interlinked cloud structuring, which is basically a combination of a hybrid and multi-cloud structure. Okay, so rather than getting into the technicalities of how this helps and how do we maintain it from an agility level, I would ideally like to throw upon a concept and a process that we look into, and something that could actually fit the requirements of anything. Huge scale setup, which is basically has got grandfathered legacy systems, or more of an entrepreneurial next gen startup that is looking at just starting up and they want to get into cloud. And this would basically be around 5 concepts or the 5 steps that we would look at. One is gain visibility. It is better to have a clear visibility of what is the infrastructure, what is the end state that we were looking at, what is the objective that we have, and get visibility of what all could help us benefit by making that move and that migration into cloud. Based on that clear visibility of what is critical to us, what is not, what is the things where we need to gain and benefit out of, how do we collaborate, what are the ones that we need to keep within the setup because of the confidentiality of the nature of that information and data, and get proper visibility, maybe put in a roadmap in terms of the visibility of what needs to go into the migration. And this then caters to any technology change, any regulatory change that could come up. After that, we get into the second step of the piece or the transition, which is then scoping of the migrations. Once we have all that scoped out, etc., we move into the third step, which is basically to evaluate the results of the first 2 steps in terms of the exercise that we have conducted. After we have a thorough evaluation conducted, we would basically then move into a stage of mitigations and exclusions, mitigating anything that may have gone wrong as we have done through our evaluation on steps 1 and 2. And exclusions, if we realize that the steps 1 and 2 did not give us the right results based on the evaluation that we conducted on step 3. So step 4 is nothing but mitigation and exclusions based on what we have done under 1 and 2 and what we have evaluated under 3. And this entire thing would be nothing but step 5, which is an ongoing process that we have. And something that we would cater to with any delta, any shift, any change that we have got in our landscapes, both from an infrastructure perspective, from a software perspective, as well as from a regulatory perspective.
In fact, the what and how is clearly now evident, because I think Deepu spoke about, Mulidhar spoke about, even yourself, Ashton, you gave a lot of examples. Bhavesh interlinked that with the transformation side. So yeah, I mean, it's clear that the what and how is no-brainer. I mean, this is going to happen, and be it multi-cloud, be it hybrid cloud, be it different deployment, be it different services, this is going to really be a game changer for BFSI. Now, Deepu, let me come to you, and I'm taking a step aside from this what and how, and would like to hear from you more from the trend side, that what's your views in terms of the adoption? Because again, I mean, you bring tons of experience in financial service. So now we are all are convinced that yes, this is a no-brainer. This is required. But when it comes to adoption, what's your view? That what would be the adoption and how much time will this adoption takes in terms of the financial services, which is really going to transform the business and bring some growth to the business? So would like to hear the trend side, the adoption side from you. What do you feel? What's your perspective on this?
I think, Feroz, it's a good question, because I think nowadays, given the fact that, we are in the COVID-19 phase, whichever way you call it, new normal or, waiting for the new normal, I think adoption, is the key word, right? I think everybody's in the journey, but it's about, how can you, take adoption up. So before we get into, crystal ball gazing, right? Let's look at, what are the key drivers of, adoption, right? Now, of course, everybody knows, that there is tremendous growth, in the BFSI industry, from this perspective. But I think what's happened in the last few months, when a lot has happened is, I think some of the myths have been laid to rest, especially when people are talking about security, so on and so forth. So the first thing we have seen, and we all know that, culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? That's something which we all have experienced. So the first thing is, I think people have now begun to embrace change. Earlier they would resist change. I think now, there is a clear desire to embrace change. I think a lot of people are, now trying to take advantage of scalability, lower capital costs, ease of operations, resilience, right, which is so important. The second aspect, I think, is as we have seen, risk has come to the fore. Now, what is risk? How do you manage uncertainty, right? So this whole idea is, that now when people have begun to talk about adoption, a key aspect when you migrate to the cloud environment is risk mitigation. And I think most people today, of course, as we all know and we have discussed, operate a hybrid security model. So it's also about, how do you keep, deploying, for example, innovation sandboxes, right? To validate, customers' acceptance of new services without disrupting your current services. So I think that's clearly, the second dimension that we are seeing. Third, of course, and I think someone like Ashton can talk about it, he does that day in and day out, is of course security. I think it just remains so very important, so very dry, but so very important. You've seen businesses, right? One hack, one breach, and then, they're all over the media in a negative way, and then they just fall flat. So I guess, there's no amount of underlining of this particular aspect, which we can do. The fourth thing, and again, we have seen, going back to the earlier, focus on, being agile, right? How can we leverage this, to be extremely agile? So I think that's clearly, a focus area. If I were to summarize, Feroz, 2020 has redefined everything from the way we work, from the way, to the way we interact, right? Right now we're doing this, for example, digitally. So I think, there'll be a lot of focus on streamlining the workforce, right? Rethinking our operational infrastructure. And especially when we look at models, there'll be a blend of, remote models as well as, physical models, right? So what we have seen is, if you look at various surveys, right, I think around, 2/3 of, firms, typically I think are going to increase their, their cloud computing. I think that's the number which is emerging from, various, surveys. And, let's just hope, that everybody takes the, with urgency, which is required.
Yeah. Very true. I mean, adoption is going to happen for sure. I can also see that pull in the market. Being in consultancy, it happens so that I interact with different clients in different sectors and all. So yeah, that's clearly evident. And no matter, BFSI is one of the topmost in terms of the industry segment. If really I have to demystify this, my point of view is this: if we do a 2x2 matrix, we'll see that. Next to telecom or media, BFSI is a game changing, in terms of the adoption. So definitely, I mean, that adoption is going to happen. Bhavesh, do you agree with this statement of Deepu? Like, is this going to be a trend going forward? So what's your view on this, Bhavesh?
Yeah, sure, certainly. Because, cloud adaptation is not going to stop. It's going to increase because it's a give, agility, scale. And I will give you a new term. Like, look, we have done a small exercise. We have analyzed that our downtime of a different application platform or services which we migrated on cloud. So what we analyze, like our downtime has reduced by more than 40% for those services or platform or application which we migrated on cloud. So you can see that this is a sort of this cloud journey is also giving us a business continuity mechanism by design. And it not only that, it's also prevent us from issue related to vendor lock, because that in-prem services that vendor support was sometime couple of years back, it was giving some kind of tough time. So if you are moving on a cloud for as an infrastructure services or PaaS, and very importantly SaaS in BFSI sector, we have many services, that is even regulatory services like CKYC. So it's already available on our SaaS platform. That's give us that kind of agility or that speed up to our digitization process. So cloud journey is not going to stop. And as we discussed at the start of this particular session, like whether we are moving back to on our in-prem, look, whenever any services or business are required for to achieve that our business objective, we decide based on our 5-year plan, and most of the time now toss goes to cloud. So we are moving very fast on cloud.
Yeah, I would totally agree. So, yes, this is evident also. So there are data also which tells that the adoption is moving on, and this trend is going to be there because, the IoTs of the world or the AR/VRs of the world, what we are talking about, you gave an example of lending and mortgage, and when we see that how much there's a cloud penetration in that itself. So yeah, definitely this is clearly evident. Now let me summarize this what we heard. So very interesting. So I'm glad to say this thing that there are multiple converging views which came out. So it's not like that there are divergent views. The views are really converging well. And when we spoke to Ashton, when Bhavesh, when you yourself spoke about, so yes, we learned that yes, security is of paramount importance, and generally what happens when we talk about multi-cloud or for that matter hybrid cloud also, there are different challenges which are there in terms of protecting data. And Muralidhara did spoke about the data, that how do we really secure the data, the quantum of data which we are talking about in a very consistent way. And when we talk about multi-cloud, yes, we even have to keep in mind that there are different service providers. So how do we really make sure that all of the service providers handles the different part of security or infosec or data in a way which really adds value to the to the clients or the customer, where the cloud adoption is there. And for that matter, BFSI is no matter a front runner into this. And the other thing which came very evident is this. When we talk about this platform, like Deepu specifically categorically did mention about the digitalization part, the Alexa part of it, that how do we really bring agility to this? How do we really make sure that the change, the pace and the disruption and innovation what we are talking about, that comes with it? So that's another important part. No matter we talk about the SaaS, PaaS or IaaS, no matter we talk about the traditional or the new age architecture, we need to be really ready for that change. We need to make sure that yes, when we talk about that business growth, that growth has to come through adoption of different cloud platforms, which is evident also, which we have seen in all of our professional life. So there's a very good takeaway which tells that categorically the banking, NBFC or the insurance, and all of you come from this background. So this not only as a sector but as a topic also, if we talk about cloud, that's making a huge headway. And this headway is going in the right way of the BFSI sector. So it was great hearing your perspective, your views from all of you. And before I wrap up, in interest of time, would like to hear one closing statement from all of you, that what exactly do you think is going to happen in multi-cloud for next 2 years or 3 years? So Deepu, let me start from you. What do you think as a closing statement for the the multi-cloud?
I think the focus clearly will be on two dimensions. One is the customer and therefore data. And I think from that perspective, two things emerge. One is security. The other is, how can you crunch data to make analytics decentralized and democratized?
Great. Muralidhar, your views?
I'll lighten it up a little bit in the sense that I will say that there's a huge humidity of data, that is, it is evaporating. You need cloud computing to rain business benefits. Without that, it is not going to happen.
Yes.
Both from what Deepu said on both points, you need security. To provide security on your own for a large quantum of data will be a huge investment. And on top of that, you need models and compute as well as analytical models to address this data.
Yeah.
There will be, I would assume that, though BFSI was slow to start, like in many other parts of compute, BFSI will start leading, cloud adoption. In 3 years' time, when you look at it, almost all banks will look like they are SaaS providers, banking SaaS providers, or NBFC lenders on the cloud, or banks on the cloud. It will look like that. Regulatory has to change.
Great. Bhavesh, your views?
Yeah, so my view is cloud adaptation will continue till the time it's give value to our business. And my experience is most of the time budget comes quickly once it's related to either customer service or data analytics. These two areas is hot. So if cloud adaptation in these two areas will continue.
Great. Ashton?
Sure. So Firoz, I'll end with the thought in a multi-cloud setup, given that we've got different service providers having different standard and processes, and also the fact that as CISOs, given CISO hat that I wear, we've actually lost the ability to say no and stop to business in terms of any innovation that they want to carry out. So it's best that we manage security in the cloud for ourselves, and the security of the cloud is left to the service provider. Having said, we also realize that there is never going to be any end state or nirvana as far as security is concerned. So we have to be on our toes, always be aware and awake. Thank you.
Statement to this is that yes, we heard multi-cloud from all of you, and at least my thinking is this, that this is a landscape which is going to bring agility, speed, and most importantly the business continuity, which is of paramount importance to any BFSI vertical. With this, I would like to close this interesting panel discussion. I hope that the audience would have taken note from the panel members, the eminent panel members, and their views they have shared. It's very important that I must highlight that the views are very, very important. It's $1 million worth, and for any practitioner or for any customers, this is going to be a game changer. For that, let me close it up, and I thank a ton to all of you for sparing time for this interesting panel discussion.
That's an interesting piece of discussion with workable inputs on multi-cloud strategy. Many thanks to the learned panelist and the moderator. Now we have a very interesting fireside chat on making hybrid cloud simple with IBM Flash system. Let's invite Akhil Kamath, distributed storage sales leader, Asia Pacific IBM, to throw some light on the hybrid multi-cloud infrastructure and how is it impacting our strategic storage choices.
Hi, so today we are here to have a very interesting discussion, and this discussion is interesting because there's a lot of discussion which happens on technology topic, and there's a topic which is cloud, and cloud is something which everyone talks about. So in tech world, in digital world, cloud is something which is emerging in different forms, and different people look cloud in different means, and we thought that why don't we have a discussion on this topic, which is a very interesting topic. And before I start, let me start by thanking and acknowledging Redington India, which has hosted this fireside chat. And the topic, as I said, it's very interesting, like how do we really simplify the multi-cloud strategy and using Flash system, because the industry point is this: we have an expert from IBM who will talk about the IBM Flash system, but it's really interesting. And just for the benefit of the audience who want to know more about Redington is operating in this field for almost, I'll say, since 1993, and is even a global brand working across multiple parts of the globe. They operate in more than many countries with more than 30,000 channel partners, and are a largest distributor in India with almost plus of 50,000 crores. In terms of the cloud service provider, also they are one of the biggest distributor in India. So this is very small intro about Reddington, and the very purpose that why I am telling this is because they have taken sort of a step forward in making sure that how do we educate the audience in terms of the distributed cloud strategy or a multi-cloud strategy. And with me today I have Akhil. Akhil comes from IBM, who is a distributed storage sales leader for Asia Pacific. And the very purpose is this: let's hear his views and perspective on the topic, specifically and categorically that how IBM Flash system is helping this in a multi-cloud strategy. And other important thing is this: we'd like to hear from Akhil in terms of some domain, in terms of some sector also, because to me it looks like banking and financial services that's really leapfrogging this particular segment. So we'll hear from him. So Akhil, I think first thing is this: welcome to this fireside chat. It's interesting that you have agreed to join me in terms of this discussion. And before we start, Akhil, I think you'll also agree with me that AI is such topic, and automation is such topic which is really redefining the world. And this as a topic is getting empowered, and the powerhouse is coming from cloud through different sense, different means. And this is where the world is converging. This is where the emerging systems are getting converged. So what are the really high value areas which the enterprise or organization they really need to investigate as they take a hybrid cloud journey? Because it's not so easy for everyone. So obviously they need to do some due diligence, they need to do some study for that. So what's your experience in this, Akhil?
No, of course, a very valid point, right? And hybrid cloud, of course, is a very vast and a very big topic, right? But I would want to view this from the eyes, or rather, I come from a data background, right? So view this from a data background, right? With my perspectives around data, right? And now when you try and peel this, right, you look at what was digital transformation 1.0, and when you look at all the stacks, right, I think from a compute stack, we are more or less ready, right? You have serverless computing, you have virtualization, and you can kind of move data, move application layer around, etc. From an application perspective, I think we are again ready, right? So with the whole stuff around, refactoring of applications, microservices, I think it supports that piece very well. From a network perspective, I think we are again ready for digital 2.0 because you have mobile computing, you have edge data centers, you have 5G, etc. coming. But I think the toughest part is data, right? Because data has gravity, right? And I think that is something which organizations are going to grapple around a bit as we approach the second piece of digital transformation. Because data, first of all, it's not easy to kind of move around. It's not easy to provide the same kind of performance everywhere. It is not easy, and it's the last parameter, right? So you got to secure it very, in a very secure manner. And the last piece is, again, data is also bound by regulations, right? So just that there are so many pieces I see where, while we would say that it's easy to move on-prem, hybrid cloud, etc., applications are ready, networks are ready, compute is ready, but I think from a data perspective, it is still being challenged because performance is not there yet, agility is not there yet, resilience is not there yet, and a lot around security and even a lot of government regulations. Right? So I think that is the impending factor. And I think if anybody's got to focus, we've got to focus on that piece.
Yeah, very, very true. In fact, now I can correlate this video, the video which we have seen, because as you rightly said that when we talk about the application stack, pretty much matured and transitioned. Yes, the microservices, the APIs, the web services, this has really transitioned a lot. So that side I really don't see any. And even when we talk about the compute side, yes, the serverless computing, if we talk about or different type of computes which has come, be it Power Series, be it Engineered Series, be it Intel Series, yes, that's already there. So that's also quite matured and all. But now if I correlate this with the video which we have seen, I mean, when we talk about Industry 4.0, when we talk about tons and tons of servers, tons and tons of, I'll say, sensors. These sensors are, end of the day, throwing tons and tons of data. Now, how do you really manage this data? How do you really store this data? This is very, very important, because this is how I think this is what you highlighted, that data is now has become a nervous system, and that's how, if I correlate this with the video, it's very evident that we are talking about everything. But think about the industry 4.0 data which comes. How do I really manage those data? So with this, Akhil, why don't I ask one more question to you, which is like, what, as per you, are the main consideration which the CIOs or CTOs should think in terms of modernizing their existing storage? Because end of the day, this data needs to be stored, and this data is of very type, be it structured, unstructured, semi-structured. So how are they really going to store this? What should be the infrastructure for this? So what's your view in this, Akhil?
A very valid question again, Firoz, and I think you tied it up very beautifully with the case study as well as our current context, right? I think the challenge for any CIO today is what I would call as from data management to data monetization, right? And this is the piece which you got to cover, right? So how do you move today from an infrastructure which is necessarily around management of it to monetizing your data, right? And I can give you a very good example here, like 2 years back when we had our worldwide seminar, the CIO from Delta Airlines was there, and he made a very good point, right? So he said how they were using data, right? So he said that in 20,000, Delta Airlines had 5,600 maintenance cases raised, and had that much of downtime in terms of errors, etc. So 5,600 maintenance activities, and by 2018 it just came down to 45, right? And he made a very valid point that there was data for us to see, but we just didn't know how to see. So the first thing they did was create a big data lake, put in all the forms of data they had, create this data lake. So first of all, they created, I would say, the information architecture for enabling insights from data, right? And as a result of which, they were able to reduce it to about 55 maintenance cases by 2018, right? So this is a good piece of how you have used to actually monetize or reduce cost, right? And like I said, for CIO, there would be 3 journeys. The first piece is around data management, and this would have what we have already spoken of: performance to that data. How you make that data agile? How do you are able to move that data on-prem, hybrid cloud, etc.? How you're able to back up that data? How you're able to secure that data? Right? So that's the first piece, right? The second piece after this is, once you have done this, once you've kind of consolidated your data, then what you're trying to do is some form of analytics on top of it. And that analytics you are using for maybe some internal projects, better pricing mechanisms, better maintenance mechanisms, etc. Right? And the third piece is where you are using that, monetizing that data and using AI to accelerate that process. So as we call it, it's an entire journey from data management to data monetization. And you can be in any part of this journey as a CIO, but I think that would be your end goal, right? Now, how do you see it, Firoz? Now, I might be just coming from a data point, but
yeah, interesting, very interesting, because I like this phrase which you say, that data monetization is now become one of the central nervous system. Because when we talk about growth, no matter we are talking about the business growth, EBITDA, revenue, profit share, whatever we talk about, all of this is happening only why? Because now we have that data wherein we can model, put algorithms, and can take decisions. So I totally agree that data is one of the very important things, and business has started monetizing it. So earlier it was more of a storage, but now at least business has started modeling it and monetizing it. That's pretty sure. Now you even brought in a point of data lake setup. That's also very important, because again, if I correlate this to the example which we have seen in the video, that itself talks about that not everything is structured. Not all data are in very formatted. So there would be data in the native forms. So how do I really store that data so that when I need in a meaningful way, that really comes out? So that's also my views. And at least, I say that I totally agree with this view that we really need to be agile in terms of thinking that how do we really monetize the data, store the data, and then play with the data. That's the main, and then only we can talk about AIs and cognitives of the world, because the more and more the data is there, the more and more learning would be there. So obviously this is very important. But then this sorts of forces me to think in one way, Akhil, is this that when we talk about this quantum of data for an enterprise or for an organization, generally what we have seen is this now multiple service provider comes into play. So it's not like that only one public cloud is there. There are multiple service provider which comes into play for all genuine reason. No, this is certainly the multi-cloud environment which I'm talking about. No, the question is this, that how is it this multi-cloud getting converged at some level in terms of the storage? Why? Because data at the end of the day has to be stored at some place. Okay, no, we are talking about 10 different clouds, we are talking about 10 different public clouds, or multiple clouds in that matter. But in order to have that algorithm, in order to have that AI modeling, obviously that data needs to be at some place. So what is your experience in terms of handling this storage management in a multi-cloud environment, which really gives some meaningful insight? And this, if I have to tell you, Akhil, at least I have seen multiple, at least banking or the financial services for that matter, wherein this case study holds true, because you talk about different things, you talk about different processes like wealth, retail, transaction, agri, commercial. You talk about, there are multiple service providers, there are multiple cloud providers, but end of the day, the data needs to be converged, and then everyone is building a data lake on that. So how is it that we manage a storage, in such a multi environment? So what's your view in this?
It's a very interesting point again, Feroz, right? And I think firstly, one should acknowledge that no single provider can be everything to an enterprise, right? And any thinking so, I think is not living in the right world, because there is a role and there is a function which each of us has to do, at least maybe from a technology perspective, right? So you have a world which will have on-prem, which will have off-prem, which will have cloud, which will have tapes, which will have everything, right? So that's point number one. Point number two, I like to frequently give this example that managing your storage is managing your diet, right? So if you've not had the right amount of vitamins or the right amount of sodium or the right amount of carbo, it goes all over the place, right? So whenever you are setting up any such architecture, pretty much like how you take a balanced diet, a balance of everything makes a lot of sense, right? And I've seen numerous examples of people taking one approach that let me go completely to cloud, and then coming back, I don't want to put this on cloud, or something I move here to off-prem and off-prem and on-prem, right? So it's very important that you have a balance of everything. One technology can't do all, right? And today, the way we see it, any organization today has at least about 4 or 5 clouds which they have, again, for various business reasons. Now the issue here becomes is how do you, and it is not that everything is refactored and everything is microserviced, and not all applications, as you will clearly know, are built for the cloud, right? There are still the older legacy ones, and on an average today, in any enterprise has 57 applications. So it is not that all these are equal. So what we have, I think, which is very unique to us, is something as what we call as the virtualization layer, right? And this is what we call as our Spectrum virtualized software, right? And this runs for you across enterprises. So you can run it on-prem, you can run it off-prem, or you can even run it on a cloud, right? So the beauty of this is one single GUI or one single management layer which helps you run across multiple clouds, right? And the beauty of this is you don't have to rip and replace anything, right? So this is certified with close to about 450 types of various storage devices. So you might have storage of any vendor, HP, Dell, EMC, IBM, anything, right? This becomes the virtualization layer. So first thing what you're doing is you are reusing an existing assets, right? And the second is this is now certified with public cloud providers also. So this is certified with people like AWS, this is certified on IBM Cloud, and we will go ahead and certify it on many other cloud providers too, right? So what happens here is you have one single layer, on-prem, off-prem, able to move data from one point to the other. So on the on-prem side of it, we do a lot of things. We get in virtualization, we bring in efficiency, we help you get performance, and performance, I'm talking of latency-based performance, right? Because 70 microseconds. We are able to use a lot of, reduce your rack space. We are able to provide you 100% availability of that data, etc. And on the cloud world of it, what has happened is, what we see is the storage provided on the cloud side of it does not have many times the enterprise capabilities, right? So the same Spectrum Virtualize, for example, when you use on AWS, you are able to reduce your storage infrastructure costs on cloud by 60%, right? I've not met a client yet who is not bothered about how his cloud bills are shooting up on storage, right? So one is you're able to get that reduction. And second is you are able to get 2x the efficiency, right? So you're able to use more EBS volumes, for example, on AWS, right? So there is an interesting case study which we have, which talks about how ATS was able to use Spectrum Virtualize on public cloud. Right, and I mean, actually,
60%. I mean, are you sure, Akhil? Like, I mean, it's wow factor, because if you talk about 60% saving, I think all CIOs will jump onto this bandwagon.
Yeah, absolutely, right. So, and it's a good thought, Firoz, there, because what has happened right now is today there is a whole thing around using pay as you grow, or using what you want and consume as you want, right? And what we are able to do is not only reduce your public cloud costs, we are also able to reduce your on-prem infrastructure costs. So, right? Firoz, I think what I would also like to do is, while we are having this conversation, I would just like to take a bit of a poll from the audience to have their review as well. So, if we just take a minute to get the poll done, right?
Yeah, we should, because it's interesting. I mean, the way we are seeing, the benefits coming out from this storage. Let's take a poll. Yeah.
Yeah. So this says, does your storage involve movement of data between multiple cloud providers? So absolutely, what we are talking, do we see it live, whether it's going to happen or not?
Okay. Do we have the answers now?
Yes, just coming up. All right. So I think it's a very equal balance. 33% say yes, 33% say no. 33% may say maybe, but I don't. But a
good part. I'll tell you the good part. The good part is this: if 1/3 of the people are telling yes, that means yes, it is at least on an uptick mode. And the other indication tells that it's not very nascent stage. It's not like that. So you have to look into this, that there's a 33% who are a true evangelist, like they have really used it. And there are 33% who have understood the importance of it, or have started, maybe not reached to an epitome. So and then there are 33% which are true laggards, which they will take time to understand. So that's a good sign. No, Akhil, I know we are running short of time, but I'm very curious to know one thing, because I saw this video, and then when we talk about the cloud storage, when you spoke about the cost advantage, the benefit which it comes. So one question which all CIO will have is what is the benefit which they are going to get in terms of the pricing and the variable usage, because I did saw in the video which talks about that whenever you need to ramp up even a half a petabyte of capacity, this can be done. So you don't have to wait for 6 weeks time to get it provisioned. So would like to have your 2 cents that what do you think on this?
Absolutely, and like I said earlier, right? So with the advent of cloud, with the advent of pay as you grow happening on the cloud, it's worked the reverse way, right? So the need is felt that, can I have the same look and feel on my on-prem environment as well, right? And there's an interesting study by IDC which says that by 2023, close to 60% of enterprises will move their consumption to such models, right? So it's a reality in terms of looking at it, right? And it definitely makes sense for any organization to look at it. But I think in what we have tried to do very unique again to IBM is try to get the benefits of 3 things together, right? Benefit the next probably 3 years, whatever the client requires on day one, right? So that big data could be in any of their client sites, right? So the capacity is provided next 3 years. What we do is we just sign up for a base minimum capacity of what they might require. Now, this is the basic you will consume on your on-prem, right? So if you're not going to move your SAP and your basic environment, you will consume this amount of storage, right?